All right, guys, I just finished rewatching the very first episode of our next segment called Totally Random Questions. This is where I'm going to have a guest. Our very first one is Benny from Comic Storian, and I'm going to ask them questions. And to make sure that those are random and it's not the typical interview or whatever that is, I'm going to pull them from magazine interviews from an assortment of magazines that made the guy at the store honestly question. The first is going to be from J14, Celebrity Teen Magazine. The second is going to be from Consumer Reports. Each guest may or may not get through multiple magazines. It just kind of depends on how the conversation goes. That's just going to push this along. The audio got a little weird on this one, so I'm actually cutting out one of the middle sections just so it's cleaner. Made it a nice length. It was really enjoyable. We'll have to have him back in the future. And the second episode, I think, was much cleaner all the way through. So I'm getting better at audio levels, and I hope you guys enjoy.
I just keep looking at the Steins behind you right now.
Oh, those are my father-in-laws. Those are, yeah. They downsized, and he's like, I have all these Steins from Germany, and like I don't know what to do with them. And I was like, I want one. He's like, here's two. So I have
awesome.
two. They're awesome. So what's going on, man? For everybody that wouldn't know who this is Benny from, you probably know him from Comic Storian, where there's like 2.5 million subscribers now. But you also had Eligible Monster, which is now Comic Storian Gaming.
Yep.
And I just wanted to sit down and say hello to you.
Hello. And I realized I was never upset about my tattoos. Only time I ever got upset about tattoos is when someone showed up with a ton of tattoos and I didn't have more tattoos. So, so as we started getting into YouTube and stuff, I have full sleeves on both arms and 2 leg sleeves all the way down both my legs.
All right.
Sorry. Just
No,
random.
no. This is the plan. This is the plan.
You figured you wanted to learn more. I just tell you the stories.
All right. So the next one here is something more personal about like a song he wrote. And I didn't have a way of making this question about you. So I was in a stream earlier this week hanging out, and they were reacting to people's content on YouTube. And they were reacting to something you put out where you and your raid group in Final Fantasy XIV decided to go discover what ERP was. And she was like, hey, RP, I like RP. No idea what the E meant. The E is pivotal in the ERP. And so she's watching this video and things are starting to take a turn. And I'm asking, I'm like, hey, is this something you want to do on stream? Because like you're making a career decision here in what she's just gotten started in like full-time content. This is it. Like this is a community defining moment in what we're going to talk about in your streams. And she's like, yeah, RP's great. Like I'm all about RP, both kinds, raid progression and kind of, getting immersed and all that. And it's like, yes, but the E part, and everybody's like, hey, I've seen this video. Like, the E is kind of important. And she's like, no, it's fine. And then somebody says it and she goes, oh. So she decides to watch your video, and she gets to a point in the video where you say, if this goes any further, it can't be in the video, which tells me you have a line that you've drawn. And then at the end of the video, she scrolls down to the text box, and I hang out in streams under Work to Game under the name that Brian and I share, and the third comment is Work to Game, and it says, lol, ERP, smiley face. And then immediately chat turns on me, like, you've seen this. And it's like, I haven't seen that. And so I immediately have to like text Brian. I'm like, what are you watching? And so I just wanted to kind of know, like, what made you make that video? What led down the road of like, this needs to be content we have?
So I know I kind of play it off. It kind of goes both ways where it seems almost like we planned it. We legitimately didn't plan it. The problem I've been running into is I'm trying to make content for 14 and for Destiny. The 2 games that I love to play, we have communities. So I want to make content that promotes the community so that people will go do it. We have another one planned, which is more family-friendly plan for 14. But the initial idea was that Drunken Blue Mage run that the video does start out with.
Yeah. It takes a turn.
Yeah, that was the original idea. Can we do this content drunk? The answer obviously was no. And then one of the guys in our group, as it turns out it was 3 of them, but one of them brought up jokingly, why don't we go to an ERP hut? Only to discover 3 of the people that were in that video apparently frequent these things on a regular basis. So they're like giving us tips and stuff. But it legitimately, organically ended up happening. And it was one of those deals too, where it's like, we started the idea when we were kind of tipsy and drunk.
Sure.
And then as each of us were sobering up a little, the joke kept coming out of like, should we do this? So then it became a joke of, anytime you think that, take another shot so that we can keep doing this video. Because at that point I was like, I'm going to film this and we'll see what happens. I mean, no one can actually get naked, so...
Yeah. I mean, I think there was an add-on that was doing that for a bit, and Yoshi P was like, hey, maybe don't. And that portion of the community was like, oh, come on, man. And it's like, what was the expected response? Like, yeah, we'll make this natively supported. Like, what is your...
And the best part about that video, though, is the way I do all that stuff is, because anything like that's always funnier when you're there, right? Like,
sure.
So I don't actually screen those videos. What happens is when we're done, I upload all the footage, I say what happened to the editor, and he makes the call. And then a video just shows up on the channel.
Bold. Bold.
That's why a lot of the intros, you don't see me come back. Because I do the intro, just here's an intro that links to what we did, here's the video. If you think it's funny, you make the video. If you don't think it's funny, don't make the video.
Any more documentarian and like there would be things out of context. You'd have a series of interviews and you don't know how they're being used. Those people that are like in a documentary that like, you know, makes fun of like their set of beliefs or a cult that they were involved in or a political movement. And you're like, why would they sign up for this? Because they were asked to sit down for an interview and they answered questions and then never saw what it was getting turned into. It's like,
exactly.
Oh, yeah, that clip that plays right before you is going to make this look real bad.
I said, well, and that was my idea with it, because my editor doesn't play a lot of these games. So I'm like, if you find what happens funny, then it's worth a video. And if you don't, then it was all in context and in situation, so it doesn't work. We have so many videos, like one that's not going out this week because he's just like, it was just you dicking around with your friends.
Sure. I just watched you guys play games.
That's it. That's what he's like. Sometimes this is really annoying. If you could point me to what you think is funny, that'd be much better sometimes.
Just you have some weird nervous tick now when you're like laughing at a show, you're like snapping or clapping or something. You're like, I'm doing that for the after. I'm highlighting. And it's like, what are you talking about? We're like out. What? It's
sometimes it doesn't work at all though. The strategy we do, like we tried to do the new Grand Theft Auto raid. They came out with a whole new heist. And so we're doing the heist. And I have like 5 hours of footage, 3 of which is us just going, all right, so we go here. All right, and then how does this work? Oh God, they caught us again. All right, let's do it again. Like no one's joking, no one's having a good time. It's just 5 hours of us being irritated at Grand Theft Auto.
I think that's why all the Twitch personalities, when they're losing their clips, because the clips had DMCA stuff in the background, they're all sad, and it's like, and because it's not like YouTube, like you can't necessarily go recreate those moments. It's like, no, those are all highlights of like organic moments. So they're a little upset when some of these people have thousands of organic moments being deleted. I think that's...
And well, I've got some videos that the video itself is choppy because I didn't have the software properly.
Okay.
But like we discussed to recreate it. I mean, it's not gonna be the same. You need us going insane because it's happening on the fly. So right. I ensure with that.
Right. But that's why movie sets have multiple cameras rolling. It's like, no, we're not doing this again.
I mean, our next idea is a lot more family friendly, though. We're all going to create Lalafels. We're making them all names of potato chips, and we're going to try to start a band in the middle of Limsa and see what happens.
Hopefully, it works out. It might work out.
It might.
It might work out.
We'll see. Or we're going to end up back in an ERP hut. You know, now as Lalafels.
So the next question. is asking about the artist's major surgery that he had. I don't know if you've ever had a surgery, so if you have, can you tell us about it? If not, what's your favorite tattoo? I wrote a backup question because maybe you have.
Well, luckily, I've had 2 reconstruction surgeries on both my ankles, an ACL tear in my right knee, and I've had LASIK twice.
LASIK twice? I thought the whole selling point was you just do it the once.
Unless you're in the Army.
Okay.
I was overseas. I got hit. Basically, like an explosion kind of came right up to my face. It like damaged my eyesight, so they gave me LASIK, but I fell into like this weird like 0.01% where every like 3 weeks my eyeballs would dry out and the skin on the top of my eyeballs would peel up with my eyelids. Excruciating.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't either until that happened. Because I tell you right now, when that happens, you can't leave your eyes open.
Whoa.
So like they had to go back in and do like more stuff to it. It still happens like once every 6 months now, but now I know what to do. So it's not like that. The first time was terrifying. You wake up and you're just like, oh, what happened?
Oh man, that's either
You ever
like
poke
the
yourself
beginning of
in
a
the eye?
horror story, or it's the beginning of like some comic book hero that can now see through walls, and it's like, oh, like that's it.
Just
Doesn't
imagine poking your eyes, like just constantly, just you're over and over and over, just constantly poking your eye. That's what it feels like.
I don't want to poke them once. Oh, they itch now. Okay. First comic you ever owned, first video game you ever played.
The first comic I ever owned was a book called Superman Time and Time Again. And I don't remember the plot. I just remember Superman fighting dinosaurs because I was so young.
Excellent.
And I refused to read the book and learn what it was actually about because I just like this idea that Superman's fighting dinosaurs.
that is good.
Because I know it's not going to be that good. It's never going to live up to what I picture it happening in that book. And the first video game is actually Super Mario 1, the original Mario Bros.
Sure.
My dad got it as a Christmas gift. And he was the coolest dad in the world because, of course, I'm like 6 or 7. He would go to work, learn all the secrets, come home, teach me and my brother all the secrets. And then we would play Mario together with him teaching us I learned a new warp hole. Or if we jump over here, we're going to go over here. You know, like, so it was just the greatest moment ever. And then we did it for every Mario until I got old enough to not care anymore.
That's awesome. Yeah, my first one was Contra. So similar story. Me and my dad played Contra.
Yeah.
Super Nintendo. I still have the NES.
He carried you real hard, didn't he? In Contra.
Oh, I'm sure. It's possible he was playing single player and that I had like an unplugged in controller. It's possible that if you actually go back, it's like you weren't even playing Contra. It's absolutely possible there was never any of that. So from here, what does your family think of the fact that you do content creation like for a living? Like, what is that thing that your wife is involved, like when you very first got started, like what is the reaction there?
The original reaction is, what are you guys doing? Go get your degrees. This is stupid. Bear in mind, I already had 2 degrees from the Army. But for some reason, my parents' plan was go get another one.
Clearly the first 2 didn't take.
Apparently.
What are your degrees in?
I have environmental sciences and technologies, and then liberal arts, which I decided was useless, so I got environmental sciences and technologies.
Was that from A&M? That's like the beginning of their architecture degree. Was their environmental sciences?
No. It was I did preventive medicine towards the end of military.
Okay.
And so the transfer was environmental sciences. It's from Thomas Edison College up in New Jersey.
Okay.
But basically, it allows me to test water, air, soil, like all that kind of stuff, and I can tell you if it's safe or not.
Cool.
Spoilers, normally it isn't. But you can't do shit about it. So
yeah, there's no action, so maybe just don't know.
Yeah. And then as time went on, they started to learn what we were doing, and they were supportive of it because obviously I can pay my bills and I'm not having any problems. And I started a business out of this, which then turned into they still don't really know what I do, but they like to brag that I do it, which leads to some weird conversation as they tell me, they're like, oh yeah, I was doing this and the person knew who you were and we were trying to tell them what you did. And I'm like, none of you knew what was going on. No one knew. You were all just talking about YouTube is what it was.
Yeah. My wife tells her coworkers I'm a digital entrepreneur, I believe. That way it's just vague enough that you just move on.
Yeah, I say digital media. I work in digital media. Normally because explaining you to YouTube goes to one of 3 directions. 1, they don't know what it is, period. So then they just have 50 questions. 2, leads to somebody then telling me, oh, how do I get into that? How do you make money? Or 3, it turns into them laughing because, oh, yeah, I know a guy that does that stuff too. So I just say digital media and just leave it alone.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the end of our interview from our lovely teen magazine here. So naturally, I'm going to transition to what I know your second home subscription is, Consumer Reports.
This one will be a little more interesting.
The guy at the guy at Barnes and Noble, when I bought enough magazines for the next several of these segments, it's an assortment. He's like, what are you buying? Like, I was like, I'm looking for things that I can ask people. So there's a section in here talking about the things you need to know before you buy a chair. These are super pivotal. But I think that in 2020,
I'll try to make my answer shorter.
that in 2020, we had a number, and actually it's become a trend where, like, in video games in general, there are people that regret their purchases or are frustrated that maybe they've purchased a complete product that was not complete upon delivery. And so, like, I think that now there's things you should probably know before you buy a video game. So the first thing that they talk about is you got to make sure it fits. Like, and then we have request samples, right? So those are your demos. We study online images, we read the reviews, and we check the warranty. What are those kind of like 5 things? How do we go through that in gaming, and like how do people better prepare themselves? Because you bought Avengers, which has been mixed in its response.
I like it, actually. I do. I actually do like it. When it works, I think it's a great game. The problem is that keyword there, when it works. It doesn't always work, causes a lot of issues that way, but I think the big one for a lot of games is there a post-launch plan, live service plan? Am I buying a single game that I'm just going to play, or should I expect to be playing this for a year? Because that goes into my thought process. Okay, so is this an MMO? Is this a Destiny? Is this like a Ubisoft never-ending game model? Or is this just go buy Ghost of Tsushima, and that's that?
Okay.
You know?
You play a number of different monetization, right? You play Destiny 2, which has experimented with monetization and what to do with players' content. They've gone a couple of directions.
I've never stuck with a game this long that in 4 or 5 years still has not figured out how they want to do their product.
They don't know. Step one, they deleted everybody's data. And they're like, yeah. The 10-year plan, that was not a 10-year plan. Then they changed ownership, and now they're like, maybe we want to Disney vault this, or we want to just do a season pass. Like, or it's going to be all
Destiny 1
upfront.
to Destiny 2, and then they were like, oh, wait, there's a lot of stuff in Destiny 1. Why don't we bring that back? Oh, what do you mean you guys don't like us just rehashing old stuff? It's like reruns of your favorite shows. And then they're like, but we'll do loot boxes. No, you don't like loot boxes. We'll sell you costumes. No, you're not a huge fan of that. We'll put loot in the game, but it'll be there in like a year and a half. But don't worry, we have more stuff for the Eververse. And then you're right. And then they just turn into, okay, so now the game's really big and we don't know how to reuse content. What if we delete it?
It's exhausting that it's such good gameplay, and there's beautiful voice acting and wonderful zones and this moment-to-moment joy, and then all I can think in the back of my head is, when's the next time I'm gonna quit? It's just like, I don't know, because like they just don't. Like, I like you so much. You're great. It's not you. I think it might be me. I guess I'll see you around. And then I just move on. And then I'm like, oh, I should play Destiny. And I do it over. That's exactly how I do.
But I don't know which one, because the other two I would say that are biggest in the size of what Destiny is that we both probably play. I don't know if the World of Warcraft model's better, where they're just like, here's all the new stuff. Forget all that stuff existed. But if you really want to go do it all, it's all right there for you to hang out in. Or the Final Fantasy method, where they're like, so we have 500 hours of gameplay, and we're gonna constantly re-loop it all back in. So you better actually do it. Don't think you're gonna get away with not doing that level 50 Titan fight. You're gonna do that like 9 more times.
Yeah. The new player experience is, oh yeah, you gotta start back however many years it's been since the game is out, and that number's getting bigger, and you gotta clear all of it. And there's 1,500 quests, and the very first time we did a major squish, we deleted 100 of them. Like, you're welcome. So it's a hard grind. And then you're right with WoW. Like, it's like, hey, we come out with so much content all the time. Don't even watch the old stuff. I mean, I'm not going to delete it because then you guys would like rage about that. But like, it's very much over there. You're going to need to talk to a guy about a thing and a horse, and then you're going to have to go through a portal, and it'll be fine. You'll find it eventually. So, like, yeah, I think monetization is one of the big ones. Monetization is definitely like, how is it being monetized? Like, how do you feel about demos, free trials?
I'm actually not a fan of demos or free trials. If you can't sell me on your game in the trailer, I'm not interested. Because whenever I get into a demo or a free trial, if your trailer didn't sell me and I decided to try those, normally I get really into the demo, and then I'm disappointed because most of the time I then have to play the regular game from scratch again. So I'm not a fan of demos. I'm not a fan of early access. None of that. You need to sell me on your game either in the pitch, the trailer, or word of mouth. But I'm not going to do I'm not doing the demos because it's like, oh, 5 hours, and you got to do it again when the game drops, and I'm like,
it's never the best 5 hours. It's the first.
It's never the best. Yeah, it's the first 5 hours. And the same problem I have with early access. Everyone's like, oh, come join these early access games. We're all having a blast. Cool. When's it coming out? 4 years. Okay, so you really think that this is going to be the same game in 4 years? Like, no.
I hope not.
Yeah, exactly.
We're promising not to learn or iterate, but we'd like your money now.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then from there, who do you trust for reviews? Like, if it's not, is it just trailer? Like, do you go to major outlets? Do you have specific YouTubers? Like, what?
Trust any reviews at this point.
None.
We've gotten into a world where reviews are meaningless. You have everything looking for the deeper meaning of things. You have people complaining about stuff that should be in the game. You have people complaining about stuff that was in an early trailer. You have YouTubers trying to make their bang by making the most hated review ever. And then you go to Metacritic and it's like 10,000 people review bombed it because they didn't agree with the Last of Us storyline. Like, oh my God. Like, it's just, at this point, if it looks interesting to me, I play it. If a buddy tells me it's fun, I'll play it. Outside of that, I just ignore it. Like,
how close of a buddy? In passing, somebody you've played with games
in passing,
before?
I'll do word of mouth. Word of mouth to me is, if you want to go with the review, that's the only review I'll take. Like, we chat once in a while. I'd like to say we're in passing buddies. Yeah. I'd hang out with you if something came up, but it's not like we hang out on an every other day basis.
Right.
If you told me to go get a game, I'd go get it and check it out.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. How do you feel about like these like money back type things? They deliver poorly on the product. Do game companies need to be able to give the $60 back, or is it you made a mistake, just guess better next time?
I see that. I don't know how I feel about the giving money back or not. We are in a day and age where a game can come out and then 1 year later it's a totally different game and it's so much better because of consumer feedback. No Man's Sky is a prime example of that. I love the current state of No Man's Sky versus the original one. When it came out, I didn't think it was terrible. It just wasn't what they promised.
First time over Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's an amazing game now though. When it first came out, I was missing a lot of that, but it wasn't terrible. But like, the ability to create the better game is something unique and interesting. Final Fantasy XIV, we both play it. If they had launched it and just left it, it would have, I think, tanked the whole company. If they didn't fix it.
Yeah, I don't know how many times you can redo a game. It's expensive. There's a reason. Exactly. There's a reason A Realm Reborn is like. There's a reason Jason Schreier said, "Hey, I want to play Cyberpunk: A Realm Reborn." Like, there's a reason it's the joke is because like it's the exception. Relaunches don't work.
They don't traditionally.
Are you gonna say Final Fantasy 14? Like, do you have another example? Like, that's it. Like, it's...
Well, Final Fantasy, Destiny did come out, not to the greatest reviews. Taken King fixed it with consumer feedback. Then they said, let's start over. And we all went, what is wrong with you?
Maybe they just don't like being happy.
I don't know.
Just, like, every time things go well. I was a fan of the Rangers for a while when I watched a little bit of baseball, and it felt like every time things were going well, it's like, we should probably trade our best rookies. Like, we got them trained up. They're doing pretty well. They're worth a lot. Let's trade them and let's get some new guys that don't know what they're doing. It's like, what are you doing?
That's what I felt like with Destiny 1 to 2.
What are you doing?
It was like Destiny 1 Taken King. We figured it out. Here's what the fans want. Here's the game you guys want. We were all into it. We were all excited. Everyone who left came back. People who had stuck around, it was paying off. And then they're like, Destiny 2, starting it over again. Like, why?
Why?
And they just did that. We're finally back to where it's good. And I'm waiting for them to be Destiny 3.
Well, cool. Well, that's really it. That's the two co-opted interviews from Consumer Reports and J14 Teen Celebrity Magazine. Do you have anything like what are you working on right now? Where can people find your newest thing that they're not going to find on their own?
Comic Storian's got the latest comic book stuff. Comic Storian Gaming's got our Dungeons and Dragons superhero game we're doing, and I just did a Dead by Daylight video. We tried working on Phasmophobia, but no one knows how to turn the flashlight on, so I have an hour of people walking around a dark house. It was not a good video.
Well, thanks for coming, Benny. This is a blast.
Oh, it was fun.
Yeah.
Anytime you want to invite me, I'll be here.
Well, cool. I
Or
don't
you can
know
just
when
start
we call this
showing up
segment.
if you want. I'll just start showing up. Just be like,
Yeah,
hey,
just
I'm
do
ready
it.
to go.
This is my creator spotlight where we're just going to visit with Benny weekly. And our guest this week, the same as the previous 52 weeks.
Shocking.